a hidden takeover. Britain today, in my opinion, is governed by political pygmies, a lethal combination of inexperience and youthful overconfidence. The coalition replaced a bunch of left-wing bigots, but wiser heads and the harsh realities of history are still being ignored. Today's leftist agenda is dominated by 1970s so-called intellectuals, driven by premeditated political malevolence, by grandiose illusions of a perfect world, and by executive incompetence. Their aim was to usurp the power of the state in pursuit of an unspoken agenda which Peter Mandelson called, and I quote his words exactly, the post-democratic era. Destruction of the UK has been deliberately engineered from the inside, and you may think that those in charge have taken leave of their senses, but you would be wrong. Without our knowledge or agreement, a plan developed in 1928 for the total control of the state and its people has been installed in this country over recent years. It started as the Frankfurt School's strategy to promote Marxism worldwide. Every one of the objectives they set has been realised in this country over the last 30 years, either totally or in part. And not one has had the conscious approval of the people at an election. I want to take you through the real manifesto which we never saw. 1. Creation of racial offences. 2. The continual change to create confusion. 3. Teach sex and homosexuality to children. 4. Undermine schools and teacher authority. 5. Huge immigration to destroy national identity. 6. The promotion of excessive drinking. 7. Empty the churches. 8. Dependency upon the state for benefits. 9. Unreliable legal system with bias against the victim. 10. Control or influence over the media. 11. Encourage the breakdown of the family. That was 1928. We can tick every single box. But they missed 2 other rather nasty tactics, both of which might also have been inflicted on us Brits, and which in fact have been, and which seriously undermine the fabric of our society. So I've called them 12 and 13. 12. Encourage neighbour to spy on neighbour and report them to the authorities. 13. Deny young people a knowledge of their history, their heritage, and their birthrights. All this dangerous and damaging belief has been supported and encouraged with an Orwellian distortion of facts, events, and opinions. Orwell said, you may recall, political language is designed to make lies sound truthful. Today, as we all know only too well, spin has become the norm. No politician can be trusted to speak plain facts or simple truth. Indeed, truth and justice have been stood on their head. Black is the new white. Today, we are expected to endure a torrent of invasive drivel from social engineers and professional lying from government spin doctors. But that is not how this great nation was built, nor how it can flourish in the future. Tony Blair claimed he had changed Britain out of all recognition, and boy, he got that right. He undermined our very fabric, culture, society, constitution, governance, our way of doing things. He created a tangled web of conflicting and convoluted regulations supposedly managed by overlapping quangos, much more interested in fighting turf wars between themselves than serving the people. With no one ultimately responsible, costs spiralled out of control, and the public interest came a very long way last. During his term of office, an avalanche of legislation invented 3,000 new crimes, mostly to control ordinary people. Our children and grandchildren were burdened with debt for decades to come. Defrauding the public purse became regarded as fair game by those with their fingers in the till. And it gets worse. Over recent years, successive UK governments have violated our constitution, given away our sovereignty, which was not theirs to give, compromised our national interests, damaged our cultural heritage, undermined marriage and the family, and condemned 3 generations of ill-disciplined, uneducated, and now unemployable young people to a life of dependency on the state. They have restricted our freedom of speech, encouraged uncontrolled immigration, which has swamped the indigenous population with a tsunami of crime, corruption, and indefensible welfare costs, and provided over the most intrusive regulation of our economy and way of life by unaccountable, unelected bureaucrats based in a foreign country. And for what? To rob future generations of their freedoms and birthrights, to endure the redistribution of our wealth, meddling in everyday life, lowering standards of behaviour and honesty in public life, or anywhere else for that matter. Dilution of our national identity, dismantling of this great nation. Ladies and gentlemen, millions of our forefathers made the supreme sacrifice defending our rights and freedoms, and it is our duty today to restore, treasure, and protect that precious legacy. It falls to us. We have no right to neglect that obligation. Britain belongs to the Brits. This is our country. We elect a government to serve our best interests, and nothing more. The coalition government elected in 2010 shows little sign of repairing all this damage, any more than it is sweeping away the quangos and waste inherited from New Labour. They are seriously out of their depth, wringing their hands rather than rolling up their sleeves. They've inherited a new totalitarianism. It was constructed and installed by their previous incumbents, all aided and abetted, of course, by the EU. But they don't have the knowledge, the understanding, the sheer courage to smash it. They've been given the power and they've failed to use it. So the state's intolerable interference in our lives goes on, despite its being self-defeating. The more the state tries to control us, the less we abide by its laws. We were a law-abiding nation for centuries, precisely because we knew we could elect a government to change the law at any time. But that respect has been eroded. So we must restore our integrity and values and the way we do things. We have to stand together. We have to stand up for what we know, what we believe, and what we want, what we need. Our frustration will end only when all true Brits take control of their own affairs again.